Well. How is everybody? It's been a while. I think we got sitting with 12, so I'm excited. It's been a while, but it's been a good break. So lots of things if everybody's been following, everybody has seen. So we'll give it a few minutes here, like a whole whopping minute, because then it's 8 o'clock and we'll get started. So looks like we've got the same old gang as always, which is awesome. So I got Diane and Becky and Connie and then Rick. And then we got a new friend from Florida, Carrie, which is awesome. And then we got Diana and I think, and then Corey. Well, let's see what Corey said. Oh, hi, Justin, and all you snappers of photos, right? That is what we are. One of many things people can call us. No sound. Hold on. Now, do we have sound? I sure hope so. Oh, Diane says she has sound. Everybody else have sound? Okay, good. Whew. We all been there before 1 or 12, 20 times, right? I'm glad Becky can hear me. Okay, everybody can hear me. Good. Okay, awesome. I was wondering because I forgot to change the batteries in my mic and I left them on one day. So, imagine that. I go through more batteries by just leaving things on than anything. Everything should have an automatic shut off. So, somebody else popped in. Oh, Mary's on here too. So, everybody else. So, well, we will get started here. So, let me kick this little guy on here. So, hopefully, everybody can see this. So, everybody has seen that I've had a little bit of a journey here. So, recently. So, I don't know what to call it, a creative breakthrough. Who knows? But it is what it is, and I'm letting it play out as it works. So it's just one of those things. So tonight I'm going to just kind of go through kind of what I'm calling exploration in creativity, a new perspective, because a lot of things are new. New gear, which I always say never buy new gear just because you're in a rut. But this is something I've been kicking around for quite a while. Hey, Pamela, I was hoping you were going to hop on here. I hadn't seen anything from you for a while. So, but yeah, it's been a crazy journey so far. And it's not even been a full month, I don't think, but it's lots of experimentation, which you will see this evening. So as always, if you've got questions, pop them in there. I will answer as they go. No questions go unanswered unless you don't give me any. At the end, we'll do a Q&A too, if anybody wants to ask more questions, just about anything in general. Wow, I have like 17 people on here. Maybe I should go on hiatus more. But lots of new things. So let's get started here. So, hey, Trent. So as always, everybody knows I starts out with a quote, right? That all the best ideas come out of the process. They come out of the work itself. I thought that was an awesome quote for what I've been doing. I haven't really focused on a process. The ideas keep coming from one piece of work after another. So if you've noticed, there's not been real consistency in what I post. Multiple exposure, obviously some way different post-processing techniques. I'll go through that in a little bit. Definitely a new look on a couple fronts. So yeah, it's one of those things is I try to like loosen it up a little bit. I kind of just like try to experiment more, go in and see the world with a different vision. And I'll go through all where I've been finding my inspiration lately and so on and so forth tonight. But hey, Peggy, good to see you as always. But it was one of those things that I kind of took a break in December. I kind of hadn't picked up a camera in a while. Just lots of things going on. The book was kind of a fiasco. Hey, Jan, it's still a fiasco because I still don't have the remaining books, and I have 2 people wanting to do book signing events, and I just kind of said, screw it, and I'm just going to let that play out as well, and when they get here, and it is what it is. I can't control it other than send out email reminders to the people who owe me the remaining books. So, but at least I got some more definite answers on to why they were in the US and then got shipped back to England. So, but as it is. So I think a couple of you guys on here have, hey, Dawn, I was hoping you'd be here too. If you haven't, well, I know some of you purchased a book, so that was awesome. And I thank you for that. So yeah, it's just, like I said, the ideas are coming from one piece of work to the next. That's why it's been kind of inconsistent. So, but hey, I thought this quote completely worked for it as it is. So, starting the journey. So, lots of photos tonight, so you can kind of see. There's probably some stuff I haven't posted online. I don't know if I will, but hey, guess you get to see them here, right? But like I kind of went through that whole journey thing already. If we go way, way, way back in time, like my college days, at that time, I hated being inundated with history of photography and other types of photographers and things like that. At that time, it was like a couple, three, Sally Mann, well, maybe four, Sally Mann, Annie Leibovitz, Keith Carter, and God, there's one more. Oh, like Edward Weston, some of those guys and ladies. And that's all we ever talked about. And if I go back to thinking about those days and creating images, I always kind of was that weird oddball out, just creating pretty straightforward images. I never did well with the sitting, let's put our pictures up so people can stare and look at them and tell us all this artsy fartsy bullshit about how we feel from a photo. To me, it's a photo. I never got into that. Maybe I'm kind of getting there a little bit more now, but it's one of those things that I was inundated with those. And over the years, there's always one guy I always go back to, and that'd be Keith Carter. I always loved Keith Carter's work. He's got a bunch of books, but he did a book on, I can't think of the name, something to blue. It ended up reminding me a lot of what I've done. If I remember right, it was him and his wife went on a trip just to photograph small towns in Texas. And then it became a project and it became a book. And he didn't plan it. So that got me thinking, is like, that's what I need to do. Not another book, but just go out and do something, right? And see where it goes. And I might do a blurb book or something in the future, kicking that idea around with a lot of these different images. But I don't want to tie myself down to this exact end result of what I'm going to be. I'm going to let this be a free-flowing project, and things will come and go as is. But, way back when, again, I was used to printing. We did the darkroom and fiber-based papers, and I've always loved that look, and that's that Keith Carter look. And I kind of feel like this picture here, the frozen little pond, is where I drew my inspiration was from Keith Carter. He's got a lot of cool stuff. There's a Facebook video where YouTube video where he had photographed his wife. I know she got ill at one point, and I think he was doing something with her tears and like the paper. It was really cool, but as a project he did for himself. And that's where I felt like this is my journey. This is all for me, no one else. And I've probably felt the most creative in a very, very, very long time, because I'm not tying myself down to, I have to go out and look for these specific photos for specific tasks and reasons, and I just go. So it's been a crazy start per se, but it's been an awesome one so far. So you're going to see these two things. This is what started it all for me at this point. Is years and years ago when I was at Photo Pro, if anybody remembers Sean McDonald up in Dubuque, he had started Everything Photography or Everything Photo. And I used to go up and visit him every once in a while. It was an easy, quick jaunt up to Dubuque and just hang out, talk photo. And he had a pretty cool store, I thought, for building it from scratch. And he had a used Lens Baby. And I've seen Lens Babies before. They're a very creative lens. I'll go through some more of these in a little bit. And I thought about getting one for a long, long time. And I thought, not really. I don't want to. I don't know what I'd use them for. I didn't have an idea. But as I come around to things, I percolate lots of ideas in my head, and lots of things bounce between those two ears. And some stick and some go out right or left ear and never come back, which is fine. And I think that's what I love about being creative, or people can be creative, is we can come up with all these ideas, and these ideas may come at times when we least expect it, is how a lot of this started. So I was kind of in that funk, and I was laying on the couch and decided, you know what? I don't know. It's probably the ADHD thing, unfortunately, where I'll start one thing and it leads to another and it leads to another, and then I'm way far off like I went from A to Z, and I kind of like that because that's what's led to a lot of these photos. And I think if I kind of thought in a more literal way, I'd kind of screw myself over. So I don't know what I was first Googling, and then I somehow looked at a photo. I think I Googled like fine art photography, and then I went from there, and then I was like, ooh, I like this kind of look. I'm like, oh, that looks like a Lensbaby. And then guess what? I went to Lensbaby's website and found a sale, and I had some money, and I thought, well, Christmas money, I'm going to buy a lens. So I'm like, oh my God, now I have decisions. What do I make? What lens do I get, right? And I was like, I like this look, but I like this look, and I like that look. And there's another guy, I can't think of his name. He's popped up on my Facebook feed a lot on my business side saying, follow this guy. And I've always thought he used a Lensbaby of some sort. I had my ideas, which he does. I found out after doing some digging. And I just like kept finding this, like I kept coming back to this look of what I wanted. And I was like, can I create this post-process? Yes. And I'm starting, now it's percolating on how do I create this post-process? And I'm like, I don't want to sit around and post-process the crap for a certain look. And I was like, duh, Lensbaby will do it, so why not? So then I got looking, I was like, I don't know which one to buy. And there's the Sol 45 and the Trio 28 I had never heard of. And this little thing like solved all my problems. It's 3 lenses in one. And it's got 3 of their ones. I'll show you some images here in a little bit. One's called the Twist, the other one's the Sweet, and the other one's the Velvet. And as I started this journey, I bought it. I waited. It was like a little over a week I got it. And I got super excited, and I loved the lens called the Sweet, and I'll show you images here in a minute of it. And then I went out and took some photos. And then I was like, I love it, but everything has to be in the middle because you cannot move the focus. Then the other challenge I had, which I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but which was focus. I'll talk about that in a little bit. So then I thought, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And I really wanted to move the focus, the kind of that sweet spot. That's why they call it the Sweet, on where I wanted to move what I want and focus. So then I found a used Lensbaby Sol 45, and it's not really a tilt shift lens where it's keeping things in perspective, but it tilts. So I can move that sweet point around. So I bought it and kind of got screwed over because it was advertised as a Z mount, which I thought was kind of weird because that's a fairly new mount. But they had a used one, didn't surprise me, bought it. I get it, and as soon as I pulled it out of the box, I knew it wasn't a Z mount, it was an F mount. So I just kept the stupid F mount. It cost me $90 instead of like $250. So I just use it with my adapter. But now I'll show you some photos. So this is what kind of like got me going. And then I started visualizing images that I wanted based off these 3 types of lenses. So this is the Sol 45. This one I really didn't edit it straight out of camera. This is just one of my child. She'd kill me right now if she knew I had it up here. But I can tilt it to where I think I had the camera vertical. I tilted it forward so it shifted the focus up to her eyes. And you'll see where it all falls off, right? Now, can I create that post-process? I sure in the hell can. But do I want to? No, not really. I don't care to. So I'm trying to take this new journey into less about post-processing in the sense of certain looks, beyond color and, contrast and that kind of stuff, and do as much as I can in camera. So when I talk about multiple exposures in a little bit, I'll go about that too. But this is kind of the look I want. I haven't used the Sol 45 much. I still keep going back to the Trio 28. And the thing is, you'll hear it called the Trio 28, and what it is, it's a 28 millimeter lens. So it's not a zoom lens. They're all prime lenses, which I have a problem shooting because then I have to pre-visualize. But this is the whole thing I'm trying to do, is push myself out of my comfort zone and start creating images that are different or way different and make me think, and use things I'm not used to using and so on and so forth. And that's where it's really pushed my creative bounds to the point of I'm really excited about what I'm creating. And then let me go to the next one here. So as we go through, so this is the Sweet lens. Nobody's seen this image yet. This is one I did up in, Des Moines a couple of weeks ago. I was in Des Moines seeing my mom for the day. And it's kind of weird because all my work has kind of become like weird and dark and dingy. But I'm not going to apologize for it. But it's one of those things is, once I started using the lens, so you'll see this is the sweet spot. So the center's going to be sharp. And I started to think, well, I don't want to put everything in the dead center. And if I'm not originally had the Sol 45, how do I do this? So I love square format. I love it. It's probably one of my favorite formats. Things just work in the center. So that's what I started shooting, a lot of square. And I'll talk about my post-processing in a little bit, but now I'm starting to see with this lens, as much as I've used it, to the images I'm wanting to create. So I was downtown Des Moines in the sculpture park, and I saw this tree. And I immediately kind of knew what I wanted to create in my head, but I didn't have time to create it. And so I went back the next day before I left town. And I kind of got it. And then I feel like now I'm more pre-visualizing stuff too. I saw this and I'm like, ooh, let's make it dark and not like scary, but you know, dark, dingy, dungy, and that white tree should really pop off. And I'll go into more of this post-processing later because I'm like kind of a plethora of things I do. But the Sweet 45 is probably my favorite lens within the lens, just due to the fact that it gives me that nice kind of, I shouldn't say, it gives me a good sharp focus in the middle, but it's got that nice fall off to that nice blurry edges. So this one no one has seen yet. This lens is a challenge. I almost gave up early on because I hated it, and I almost sent it back. And I thought, no, you're out of your comfort zone, Justin. So therefore, you're learning. So I thought, okay. And then I had to go back and think, well, the other thing is I'll talk about here in a minute too, is these lenses are not autofocus. That's why they're so cheap. They don't relay really exposure information in a sense. The Trio 28 is a fixed aperture. It's 3.5. That's all I get. It's fixed. I cannot change the aperture. So I can't go to f8, I can't go to f16. So again, it's limitations. But then once you learn, I always say, if you learn the limitations of your gear, you can know how far to push it. And I'm still learning that with this lens because it's a very different kind of thing. But it's something, it's kind of pushing me beyond the limits that I'm normal, and that's what I'm loving about it. So this was a tree that I've come across a million times back home. And the one thing that this lens has done too, I'm kind of getting ahead, I won't go there quite yet. But again, just kind of showing you the point, it's kind of that sharp center, but sometimes I'm still trying to figure out why sometimes I will get a ring of sharpness. So I'll get blurry edges, the super circle of sharpness, and that dead center of that circle is slightly out of focus. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm not going to worry about it. And that's one of these. This photo, it's kind of hard to see probably on your screen, but if you saw it in print, you would definitely be able to see it. But it was just there, and I'm like, I kind of like that. So it's something I'm learning to work with and create and learn the boundaries of this. So this one everybody's seen. This is one, I actually went out to do a multiple exposure photo. And as I was talking about items, ideas come and go as I do certain things. And I wasn't even thinking about like doing still life kind of, in theory, you call it in studio stuff. I don't have a studio. This is literally my dining room table. But this was one thing. I got this. It's a milkweed that's all dead, and it was literally laying at my feet. I almost stepped on it. And I instantly got this vision in my head that this would be cool on some type of textured background with natural light. And I'm like, I don't know where it's going to go. So I took it. I carried it literally. It was in the back seat of my truck for an entire week. And one day I was bored. I thought, I don't feel like creating images. I don't want to sit in the office. So, oh, thank you, Rick. And I was like, I'm going to go to Hobby Lobby. So I ran to Hobby Lobby and I thought, okay, I'm going to get me 2 like 1/4-inch boards of black foam core for the bottom and the back. And then I'm like, I want like textury paper. What can I do? So I said, I'll go over to the scrapbook aisle. And I just started going through all these papers, right? And they're cheap. They're on sale, 40% off. So I was just grabbing like, that's cool, that's cool, that's a cool texture, that's a cool texture. And I just started going. So one day, and what I love about this image, it literally took less than 5 minutes to create. I wanted just to quickly experiment. I just wanted to see what would happen. So I literally went to the kitchen, opened up the window, the blind, half-assed, threw up the board, and I got these little glue corners, and I found 4 of the papers I like. I put one here, one there, flipped the board, and put 2 more on the back. And my wife was home from work while she was working from home that day. And I was like, just hold this for me. So I had her hold it up, and I just grabbed the camera, and I made like 15 images or less on 2 or 3 different backgrounds. And then I got it down here and I was like, okay, I like it, but I don't know what to do with it now. So I was like, nah. So I let it sit a couple of days. And I played around. I got about, I bet you, like 25 different versions of this image. But it ended up coming to the point where I'm thinking, I was like, ooh, how do I kind of wanted it, the background, that painterly texture. I was going to make these. Now, why make these when I can just find them? So it's just one of those. And I started playing with some presets that I purchased, which I usually say I don't like presets, but these were a steal of the deal holiday sales. Like, what's $25 for like literally 200 of these things? If I don't like them, it is what it is, right? I wasted a lot more money on a lot less. So I just started to play with those, and I was like, I don't even know what to use these for. So I was just going through and just picking images of different things and seeing which ones would work. I was like, oh, I kind of like that look. And then I went in and got the look there, but then I tweaked it. I don't like this or this look. And I started adding and subtracting, and there it is. Here's the image. And this is not probably the original idea I had in my head, but this is what I came up with in the end. And I felt like this image was created because I didn't do anything. I didn't think that it had to be this. And when I couldn't tackle that exact look, I was done. It just kind of let it go. Hey, Diane, kind of thing that it just kind of mosey poked along. And yeah, I just let it ebb and flow, and there it came. But I love the sweet spot these can put things in. So this one I just posted, last night. Again, this is not the image I wanted to create. With the sweet lens, I had the boards. I was at Hobby Lobby and I was bored, so I wander around there a lot and see what I can find. And I found this really cool vase, and it reminded me of like slate, and it was very rough. And I was like, ooh, that would be cool, like shooting black on black, but then I need something to stand out. So bam, I thought I'll go to Hy-Vee and get these flowers. And I had this vision in my head, but this flower does not, the top flower does not work for the end. I think I need a lily or something, but I haven't found those, and I'm just, again, it will come across when it needs to, and then I'll buy it. But it was one of those, and I was like, didn't work out. So I was like kind of mad it didn't work out, but I was like, don't worry about it, let it come, something will come. So one day, again, I got bored, threw the dumb things out there, created 15 or 20 images, and I played with a bunch of different presets and tweaking and going in and dodging, burning, all that crap. And before I knew it, I had this. So I was like, it's kind of nice. So I'm trying to go for that more, I don't want to say fine art look, but something just different, right? Versus FA, F16, F11, and a barn and a ditch and some clouds. I think I'm kind of getting bored of that. So therefore, I'm finding something else to do. So there's 2 other lenses within the Trio 28. One's called Velvet and Twist. I don't like the Twist because because I haven't played with it a lot. But if you get enough background from your subject, it will take the entire background and kind of twist it into a circular pattern. It's super cool, but I haven't found anything yet that I truly love to do with it, so I let it be. In this image, you can kind of see it's starting to twist at the bottom a little bit. And then there's the Velvet. I don't know the Velvet will be there when I need it, but I just can't envision any images where I want yet. The Velvet is soft. It's a soft lens. It's meant to be soft focus. I don't know. I don't like soft overall, but you never know, right? I'm not going to say I'm never going to use the Velvet because I'm going to start hindering my creativity and my work and my thinking process. And then I'll go back to where I ended up previously. But this one, I think, was the Velvet, maybe. It probably was a Twist. I don't know. It's really weird. Sometimes either of these kind of give the same kind of look, but it's kind of like almost like a very soft, like you used to be able to get a softening filter in the film days. It was the same thing, but I love probably the Sweet lens the most. You can buy that just on your own. I really like to get the Lens Baby Composer, which is kind of like the Sol 45, and it moves around, but it has optics. You can switch it out, a 30, a 50, and an 85, which is kind of cool. You can get the Velvet lens in a lens that mounts on and nothing else, but if you really want to get into something and start something totally different, is the Velvet. So Diane said soft is like some of the wedding photos with that soft focus. Exactly. Yep. That's not my gig, but someday there might be an image I want to create with it, but it's definitely different, but it's something I'm not like going to use all the time. I use the sweet spot more than I do anything else. Any questions so far on anything? No? I hope I haven't missed anything, but if you got questions, throw them out there. So let's go on here. So finding inspiration. So you kind of saw how my journey started, the images I've started creating. So how do I find inspiration for some of this weird shit? A lot of it is Keith Carter, obviously. I don't love all his work, but when I draw inspiration from another photographer, I'm not drawing inspiration in the sense of exactly creating the same photo. Diane says, are the Lens Baby lenses compatible with any camera brand? Yes. It's just like when you go buy a Nikon, you can get it in an F mount or a Z mount. For Canon, you can buy it for the EF mount or the EF mount or the R mount from mirrorless. So yeah, you just get them. They make them for Fuji, Sony, even some micro four thirds, but I don't know of anybody, on here that has micro four thirds. But yeah, you can get them for any of the cameras. If you're worried about in the future, you switch to mirrorless, you can actually adapt over with your adapter, same thing. But I've been listening to, I'm not going to go there quite yet, that's at the bottom. But, I'm not trying to exactly manipulate the exact image, that Keith Carter, one of Keith Carter's probably most well-known images. Hey, how are you? I think we got Florida and California in here tonight. I love it. Is the boys with the fireflies. There's a video on YouTube. It's really good where he explains it. But it was one of those images, and that his story kind of reminds me of my journey so far. There's some images I just wanted to throw out the window. And if I remember the story right, he created the image. He made a contact sheet in the darkroom. If you're not familiar with that, it's like putting your negatives and exposing it, and you have all your pictures on one page, and it's like proofing before you make an enlargement. And he didn't like any of them, and he somehow discussed it with his wife, and his wife's like, no, you got to print one of these or something like that. And then she goes, you need to go bigger. And then he went bigger, and he loved it, and it was a mistake. His focus was off, if I remember right. But that image is kind of what like threw him out there even more to the world, where people knew who Keith Carter was. So again, he was going to throw that one in the garbage, right? And guess what? It's probably one of his most well-known images. So it's things. Oh, hey, Karen, good to see you. I haven't talked to you in a while. We need to get together for coffee. But Keith Carter is an inspiration in just looking at work. And then I also look at non-photographers. If Trent's on here still, Trent always says he's always looked at painters and stuff. And I'm starting to look at just other work, just like paintings, things like that, for color and tone and all that weird stuff. But I'm not finding all photographers. I find out the more that I gravitate to looking at more photographers' work, the more I want to emulate that kind of image. So I just try to stay away from that. Then I'm just looking at art. I plan on going down to the Figge Art Museum. I might be going to Chicago in February to the, what do you call it? One of the famous National Geographic photographers show. I can't think of Steve McCurry. And that's the other thing. I got some inspiration even too, just in photography from Curry and McCurry in Color. I think it's on Amazon. It's like a $4 rent. It's actually really cool. I kind of liked him a lot less after I watched him in his documentary. He's kind of a pompous ass in my opinion, but that's fine. He can be that way. But it was just kind of where he was talking about people have made him a photojournalist. He doesn't say I'm a photojournalist because he got in trouble in the last couple of years. Or I shouldn't say trouble. Got called out for photoshopping some photos that were journalistic and so on and so forth. I won't go there. We've talked about that before. But I always thought of him as a photojournalist, and he says that's not what I ever intended to be. So I'm like, ooh, that's kind of like my journey too. So I'm finding inspiration in all these different places. So then research. I'm just researching flower photos or Lens Baby photographs, whatever, and I just let it go, and then I let my mind just take me down the rabbit hole of the interwebs, and God knows where I end up, but I see so much by doing that, so I'm just digging around. And then podcasts. So I love podcasts. I can listen to them in the truck on my little jaunts, or I can listen to them. Lately, I've been doing lots of far off travel back home, 4-ish hours, and Des Moines for 2 hours. So I'm like, I can listen to these things. And I'm just like, I'm kind of getting tired of photo podcasts because they're all about lenses and how to get a sharp photo. And I'm like, why can't we talk about being creative? So I started typing creative podcasts. And there's one that I really love and I've listened to for quite a while. Andy J goes by Pizza's last name. He's a best-selling author for New York Times now, best-selling author, a whole bunch of stuff. He's got one, and now that I got to think of the name of it, I can't think of it. Creative something, creative. I don't know. Maybe I'll post it on Facebook. I'll remember it later. But he's got it. He just talks about everything at creative, and then it gives you a piece of something you can act on later. And I've listened to all these creative podcasts where they're just talking about creativity, and it's not all photographers, it's painters and other artists and sculptors, and and then it's kind of fun to hear that as a photographer, we're not the only one that has these problems. Painters have it too. It's just in a different form. Even the other thing too, it's been, I wouldn't say weird, but music. I think when I went to Des Moines by myself 2 weeks ago, I listened to a lot of classical music lately. And there was a couple that I listened to that just got my mind going. I don't know what it did. This sounds nuts, but it just kind of kept rolling and rolling, and I had ideas and I kept going. And then the worst part is I have ideas and I can't get them out onto paper because I'm driving. So I was just like, had the notebook kind of like scribbling ideas down, which was probably not a good thing to do, but I did it anyway. And now I have them ideas. Chris says, I just joined, but are your images because of your newer lens via Facebook? Yes, almost all the images I post, except the one of the tree in the snow, is of the new lenses. And Diane says classical music is neutral, fascinating. Yes, I loved it. I'm weird in the sense that some people I'll listen to about any music except rap and some of that crap, but you never know where it's going to take you. So you can find inspiration anywhere if you just got to look for it. Even just getting out, changing location. I went to Jones Park, never been there before. Outside of sledding, I've never been there to look for photographs. I've just been changing up subjects. Trees. I've been doing multiple exposures of trees, and I love it. And you've probably seen some of those I posted, things like that. So draw inspiration where you find it from. It could be literally anything. For me, my brain's weird. I can look at a color and be like, ooh, and then I think of an idea and I let the brain go and let it go down a rabbit hole, and I'm good to go. So I'm just, like I said, you can find inspiration anywhere. That's what I love about it. So again, this was one that I did with the Lensbaby Trio 28, the suite. It's one of those things when I started out, I created, Diane says, I was raised in the arts, opera, etc. But from relief of stress, classical music is awesome. Yes, and Rick says, the last one is my number one way of getting inspired, right? I mean, it's just one of those things that sometimes you just got to change it up a little bit, find a different, if you're going out in parks all the time, go to the city, go downtown. That's what I've done. I've got a couple images I haven't loved. But the other thing that I should talk about real quick about this whole creative journey is I'm not letting me get stuck in these certain landscapey photos, right? I'm just picking up the camera and I'm experimenting. And I'm like, that tree in the building caught my eye, and I composed some images, and they didn't work out. Oh, well, it's all about experimentation at this point. So this was one that I shot. I kind of had an idea, and then just kind of totally went left field, and that's what I ended up with. And I'm okay with it. It's a lot of fun with this lens and just thing. And here's another version of the tree. So this is the whole thing. So, going vertical, and Diane says, going with inspired actions, way to go. Thank you. Thank you, Jan. She said, love that. I think it was the previous one. But again, this is just something I went from square format, and I went to I think this is the 3:2 ratio, whatever. And I played around. I got about 9 different versions of this. And I don't normally like warm photos. I like cool images, but now I'm kind of start going that way and seeing what I'm getting. So it's just crazy when I'm not trying to stick to a style or stick to a look or something. And one of my goals this year too was I want to maybe get into selling prints. I don't know. That seems like a horrible idea, but sometimes I run towards the fire when most run away. But I want to do maybe some more gallery shows, right? So I, on a whim, threw up 2 literal images of the tree and the other thing, and they got accepted to a show. And I don't know, that kind of threw me for a loop, but it happened, right? So I'm just trying all these different things. You know, I've subscribed to a lot of email newsletters like Lens Obscura and a lot of oddball work that I get exposed to. Some of it's very weird, kind of like back in the day of college. I have a very vivid memory of, I literally did a picture of cowboy boots in a gravel road. No one liked it. I didn't give a shit. I liked it. I created the image, blah, blah, blah. Oh, thank you, Diane. And everybody loved the picture where the girl took the frickin' Barbie dolls and melted them on a Weber grill. Right? Okay, great. She liked it. I didn't. That's what I love about art and photography. It's to each their own, right? But, you know, even if somebody doesn't like the image, like, I hate that image and I don't like it, it's weird, and right, it made us feel something. So that's what things that's, I think we've done our job, right? I've talked about that before. If we make a feeling of something. This one. So this is kind of this is different. So early on, I act like I've been doing this forever, but I work in these weird little stages of this journey so far. And the first part was I just got in the lens. It's probably the first time I actually truly went out and did something with it and went and did some landscape stuff. A lot of my image started out in a cool tone. And this is literally a reflection in a lake that I've driven by 1.5 billion times back home. I slipped in the snow and about fell in the water. And you know what? There's a story behind everything, right? But, oh, thank you, Jen. But I was just composing to where, you know, it's a reflection, right? And the reason I composed it this way was I kind of had a vision. But again, I'm fixed to that sweet spot in the middle of the lens. I can't control that. So then I'm like, what do I do? Well, I want this kind of more. So I moved it down at an angle. I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that. So I just worked it and I just go to that roadblock and how do I get around it? How do I create the image that I may be looking for or not looking for? And I just let it happen. And again, a lot of those early images that I've been doing were kind of a cool tone, but this sounds nuts probably to some people, but artists probably not so much. I kind of go with what the image tells me to do in a feeling, in a sense. I look at it like, ooh, it's kind of cold, right? It's winter out. This is usually my dead time. I don't do anything. I feel like I'm thriving this winter because I'm creating images that are just different, but it might be the whole journey within itself. I should probably get my butt in gear. There's a lot more slides, but oh well. It's good to be back, I'll say that. And I appreciate all 18 of you coming in tonight. So every journey has challenges, right? Not everything has come easy in this new journey. Things are a challenge, right? I've talked about some of them already, but we will. The biggest challenge is the lens itself. It's one lens, one focal length. It's either 45 millimeters or 28. Becky says, I do the same thing. I edit the photo based upon how it makes me feel. Exactly, right? Or I edit the photo based on how I see it or how I want it to be, or again, probably back to feelings. So the biggest challenge, actually, this is probably the second biggest challenge, is I'm used to doing a lot with the 70-200, not wide enough. I had to zoom in a little bit. Now I have to be the human zoom. I have to walk up and then I have to start creating images that I have to work with it, right? I have a lens that's fixed. I can't do anything. And I gotta, if I want closer, I gotta get closer. Or I get to the focus is fixed to the center. I can't create the image I want. So I have to tilt or move or do something or a million different things. So I have to think out of that literal creative process is way 100,000 times different than I've ever done it before. But that is the whole point of this and just pushing yourself. And the other one was focus. This is a manual focus lens. It's not autofocus. There's no electronic connections to this lens. When I put it on my lens, I pick a shutter speed. The aperture does not register on the camera. It says f dash. I know it's a fixed 3.5. Is what it is. That's all I can do. So I was trying to focus and I didn't like it and I couldn't tell. And I thought, well, how in the hell am I going to focus this lens without knowing what's in focus. So I started using focus peaking. So I get the little dancing ants, the little outlines of stuff that are in focus. I'm like, awesome, that'll be easy. Did it, click. It's not what I wanted in focus. What the hell? Then I'm trying to think like, well, okay. And then sometimes it's very faint little tiny dots that are in focus. And I really have to like study the viewfinder of where these dots are and these little lines of what's going to be in focus. Yeah, so focus peaking, Diane, is as I focus the lens, it kind of outlines in these little lines of color that I set in the camera. I'm red-green colorblind, so I can't do red, so I do yellow or white. Usually I do yellow because that works about all over. Yes, focus peaking is a weird friend, but once you get it figured out, it's amazing. I've always known about focus peaking. I just never chose to do it because I didn't need to do it. And I am always one of those, I'm not going to learn everything about the camera and can boggle this brain that's got enough shit in it at this point in life for something I don't need. But now I'm to that point where I needed it, right? So I invested in a couple of YouTube videos and watched it and listened. So I had to overcome the focus thing, which I don't nail it all the time, but it still works and I get it. But I'm much better. I'm getting more than 50% of the image of what I want in focus now versus 20 or less. And the hard part was getting out of the norm. Like I'm going around and I'm looking for the barn, or I'm looking for that normal thing that I've always done. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that right now. Like maybe if it works for the image, great. But it hasn't worked, and that's fine. And I'm okay with getting out of the norm. I think that's what's kind of like pushed me through this weird ceiling where I was stuck at. And then vision. Vision is still a challenge because sometimes I get this, oh, Peggy said I had the sol and traded it off. I couldn't get the focus because of the damage to my eyes. Yeah, that would suck because it is a hard lens. Any of them are hard. I would say the Sol 45 is a lot harder to focus than the Trio is. And I just haven't taken time out. I have an idea of something, a project I want to do with the Sol 45, but I'm not going to go there quite yet. But back to vision is vision in itself of what the image speaks to me when I compose it, create it, expose for it. But then when I come back here to my desktop, it isn't what ends up being, and that's fine. Because that's what I loved. Like, there's images I was going back. I'm like, it's not what I wanted. It's not what I envisioned. I'm like, just let it go. Let it go, as the Frozen movie says, right? So I did. And then I started like, ooh, that's cool. And then I just let my creativity go. And I was like, this is where I want to be. I like this. Let's roll with the cool versus the warmer image and do all these different things. And then once I get to a point where I like that, that's where it's going to be and that's where it's going to stay. Then I have my image. So I still try to have a vision, but I'm also okay with letting that vision stray, either just a tiny bit or a whole whopping, 180. And I'm okay with that because the whole part of this journey so far is to be creative, to create things I've never done before. And I hope some images people just look at and say, was that guy lost his mind? What the hell? I'm okay with that. It is what it is, right? And I let it go. So I think I got some more images coming up here. So like this one, change of place, right? It's a parking garage, right? Photographed it before, but there's just something about the sweet lens on the Trio 28 that, I liked it. I've got a warm image of this. I've got a cool image. I've got this. I love it. It's different. It's tilted backwards. My brain's like, you need a perspective control, correct all this shit. I'm like, let it go. Just let it do its thing. And I let it just be itself, right? And sometimes I have to just work with these images as they come and create. This is not what I originally had envisioned, but after I looked at it, I'm like, ooh, I kind of like that. And even exposing for the image, overexposing it or underexposing it is different than what I'm used to doing. I always have done that for each image, but with some of these presets that I use as a starting point, I can't underexpose, or it goes so dark when I go to lighten it up, I get all this weird noise and things like that. So then I'm thinking, God, I really have to think ahead now more than I ever had to. But I think that's what has been awesome about it. So this one, completely odd, right? Now you've seen all these other images so far. Now This was just a building, a music store. I don't know. It caught my eye. So guess what? Instead of just saying, that's not my normal thing, I just went and created an image, right? Who cares, right? We're not clicking frames, we're clicking pixels these days. We're not burning film up. So there's just something different, something I came across in colors. And then I started editing the photo to more warmer tones, because that's kind of the feeling I had. Oh, Don says, awesome job. Proud of you, Justin. Keep up the amazing work. Keep doing you. Yes, right? I mean, thank you. That's what I love. Diane, Karen says she loves her Soul 45 with stacked diopters. See, and there's a lot more to the Lensbaby world. I almost bought the whole Lensbaby kit on sale at Christmas, but I was like, I probably should save some money, because I just need to be a good business person. But here's another one, totally different, right? It's a vintage store in Des Moines. I normally wouldn't photograph this, but what do I have to lose? Nothing at all. I'm clicking a photo. Plus, it kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone. Normally, I wouldn't photograph inside a store where there's somebody in there working, but the guy seemed kind of cool, and I didn't think he'd really complain about it, and he didn't. So it's stuff like that. Then I'm looking at, let's look at creative techniques. So that's just like, see? So you've seen some really dark, moody stuff, some lighter stuff, and then some of this more vintagey, warmer tone stuff. Like, I have no set boundaries to what I'm photographing. I'm just letting that trip or that moment create an image for it and be done. And who knows what I'll get next. So creative techniques. So besides the lenses itself are really a creative technique in my book, but I've started to play with multiple exposure. So years have gone. I never did it on film. And once I went to mirrorless, and even my D850 would do it, where I could take an image and then see it in the viewfinder and then overlap it with the image again and create these images. But I always wanted to do it, and I never did it. So I felt tied down that I needed to do all this other stuff. And now with this whole journey, I'm like, hell, let's do it. So I remember seeing a picture of a tree one time that was done, and the lady's like, I take one step to the right and do a whole 360. I did that. Man, not my thing. I liked it. It's cool, but... And then she took one individual one and did it all in Photoshop. I don't want to do that. And I'm not saying I'm not experimenting with that technique in Photoshop, but sometimes there's that one angle that I want that I don't want other stuff in. And then I'm not tying myself down to say, don't do this in Photoshop. I have options too, right? That's pushing me in my bounds of my normal non-Photoshoppiness. I don't do that. I'm teaching myself things, right? So again, I'm learning. But with multiple exposures, so I want to show you picture on the left, picture on the right. Same photo, not Photoshop. I literally went into my camera, and now I have to think about how many images do I want to lay over on each other. Now, my Nikon will save all the image separate and then give me one JPEG, which I don't like, but it is what it is, with my stacking. Karen says, cool image, so retro, right? It is. Now, with this image this is the tree that I've seen in the distance one day at the park, and this is a sledding hill in Jones Park. We've been there ages ago with Emma to sled, and it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. That's something I've been looking for, but I still had crap in the background. The picture on the left, normally I would just ditch it, but I had to think, how many images do I want to overlay on top of each other? I was like, let's do 8. That's the max my camera can do. And then I literally took a picture, and I can see it in the viewfinder, and I can move it around to where I want and kind of see the opacity of it, where I got the current image in the viewfinder, the overlay, and I click. And then I move it around. And I just do this in very tiny little increments, and this is what I got. I'm loving multiple exposure. Something, what else can I do with this? Like, you get the multiple exposures where you'll see people do a landscape and then a portrait and they overlap. That's fine. But I'm liking trees. So I feel like in the future, maybe I'll do a series of trees, but I'm not going to go there yet. I'm going to just create all these images. Oh, thank you. But it's one of those things it's again, just something different. It's pushing me out of my zone that I'm normally not doing, and I'm okay with that. I probably said that a million times, but So this is the picture you've all seen, the very first one that I ever posted of the tree. So this was one tree, and I went in this really methodical way. I took a picture of the tree at the 6 o'clock position. Then I went to the right at the 3 o'clock position and took a picture. And then I went to the 12 o'clock position and took a picture. And then I went to the 9 o'clock position and then I took a picture. And then I went in between 6 and 9 and took a picture. And then in between 6 and 3 and took a picture. And then in between 3 and 12 and took a picture. And then I went to the other. So I kind of like sliced it as a pie. And I got an image, but I cropped it a little bit because it was just very busy and stuff. And I thought, okay. Then I started editing it. And when I was doing the post-processing, I didn't quite love it because it was very busy, and you'll see it here in a minute. And then I started playing with contrast, where I could get the texture in the background, but I'm forming the shape of a tree there, right? So I got all the dark and everything kind of up. And then I edited it in a cooler tone. I was like, I don't like that. And then I started playing with color, not doing the original tones of the image. And then I went really cold, and then I was getting like pinks and purples and weird stuff, and I just let it go. I just let it flow to see what I get. So this one was my first multiple exposure that I did. This is another one that I did where I'll show you the other picture I did in a little bit, I think, when I talk about post-processing. But this is the one, it's just a tree. It's a stupid pine tree, right? Whatever you want to call it. And again, I just went do, and I'm not, again, trying to be like super methodical about where I'm going to, I just and play and see what I get. Nah, I don't like it. Do it again. Nah, don't like it. Don't do it again. Love it. Okay. And that's what I do. And then I go into post-processing my images when I get back. So let's talk about post-processing I think this is about the last, we're getting close on an hour, but post-processing is always going to be a part of this process journey. And a lot of it, there's all this post-processing and this whole creative journey, tones and shape and color and texture, all of that still plays a key role, composition, all that within creating an image. You just, we can just be a little more laxed with it and kind of push those boundaries more. I've been playing a lot with color. So, okay, here's that image. There's the image on the left, image on the right. Same exact image. Only thing different, it was processed differently with the contrast and some color. Literally just changing up some of the contrast things that I do, that's where it got me. The one on the left, I love the colors, but it's way too busy. I didn't like it. It's very meh. The one on the right was like, ooh, I have the same image, but in some different color, kind of matching the image to the left. I just felt, as I'm a gut instinct, you probably heard me say that 5 million times on this gig, but it's one of those things that's just difference because of post-processing. Yes, Jan, right. Thank you. She said, wow, what a difference. There is a big difference in these. I sat on these two images for a couple days and thought, which one do I like? Which one do I not like? I still love the color on the left, but I still lean towards the one on the right because I can still keep the form of the tree, where the left is very busy. Again, I like both, but for their own reasons. So now back to kind of the other more literal work and not the multiple exposures. But again, the sweet spot in the middle, I played with warm tones. I played with cooler tones. This image I just felt like worked well in the cool tone. So that's where I kept it. And you got the river and it kind of zigzags through there and takes you to a point and all that stuff, right? You got a little bit of the sky. Like, I'm just playing around. I'm not letting anything hold me back to what I do. Is it one of my probably earlier favorite images? Yes. Is it still a favorite image? Not as much as it had been. But I don't live on my images very long. I love it. And people always say, well, what's your favorite photograph, Justin? I always say it's the one I haven't taken. Because in the pursuit of photography, I'm always looking to create another image. And not saying that what I've done, literally, like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen this one. That's my very first image I ever took. Darkroom print. Thought it was the best damn thing in the entire world. Done in 2003. It's probably the worst thing. But in the end, it was great at the time, right? But I keep that on my desk because when I'm over here and I look at an image and I don't like it and I feel like I'm not doing anything, I'm not advancing, I look at that picture and say, look where you have come from. So there's a fun, inspirational, creative tip for you. But at the same time, I played with the cool tone here. What's the next one? Oh, this one. Everyone loved this one. This one was this is when I took this. It's literally a road. It goes off into those trees. Those trees were covered in a 1/4 inch of ice because back home they got an ice storm a couple days before we got there. And this was one of those images when I looked at it, I felt it should be whimsical, kind of like storybook-like. So I edited it in that, obviously I photographed it with that vision. Like when I saw it, I was like, ooh, it feels very like storybook, like I feel like if we go down that road and beyond that trees, it's going to be a whole new world of like literary like fun, right? All these, who knows what's back there. So that's how I edit it based off of feeling. So I've got about, I guarantee you, 20 images of this edited all these different ways. But I felt here the cool tones in general worked. If I would have shot this with the velvet lens, it probably would have been a little soft. I don't think it would have worked as well by drawing you in and pulling you down the road. But again, it's something different. This is one of the earlier ones, probably not everyone's most favorite on Facebook, but again, I don't create things for everybody else, create things for me. But to me, this felt very like witchy and like not Halloweenish, but like very not spooky. I don't like that word, but something very kind of dark, to be honest. That it's just weird. It gives you these different feelings. I don't know. When I look at this image and the way I edited it, I felt like it was one of those that it comes into like mystical. There's the word. I don't know if that's what you meant, Diane, about the other one or this one, but mystical is a good word. Ethereal, maybe moody. Yeah, it's a good one, Karen. Yeah, something different. Like this is not Justin by any means, right? It's way out of my field, and that's left field. That's fine. That's where I wanted this journey to go, and it's like a pinball machine. I'm all over the place, and that's what I love about it. And then as I get in this one, this is one that I like. So last year I changed my business name to Justin Tedford Fine Art Photography. Kind of burns me because people don't know I do other things, and that's fine. I really don't care at this point. But I want to create fine art images. I know I have images out there that if I can find buyers, they'll buy. Like I hate it when I go to hotels and see images that literally are stupid crap that you get off some website and it's all stock images. Or today I was in Hobby Lobby and I see all that crap, all those images, and they are images from photographers that have been licensed to a point. But there are some of it, and there's like, this one was not the picture I intended to take. This is what I love about this journey and not holding myself back. This was an image. I saw this line of trees, and there's a tree in the middle, and I've been looking, and I will find it eventually. I want a row of like pine trees where I can just shoot down the middle, and that's all it's there. Again, that's the other problem I've had with this journey. I get these visions in my head, and now I have to go find it, and that's half the fun too. But I was photographing it. I was like, click, and then it was a cloudy day, but I was getting glare on the LCD screen, so I went like this, and bam, right there at my feet was this grass, and my brain was like, okay, I knew what I wanted. Underexpose this. You've got highlights. Go back to Lightroom and make a black and white. That never happened. So that's what I loved it. Instantly, it was weird. It was like I knew what I wanted to do. So I come back, put it in here. I tried warm tones. Didn't like it. It was nice. Don't get me wrong. I went with green tones, and then I tried to go with browns, and then I went with some terracotta tones, and real specific terracotta. But then I was like, I'm like, it was cold. I'm like, and I let it go and let it flow. And I went to this, and I usually like high contrast, like blacks. And then this is it's not solid black. And it just felt calm and kind of like, whoo. And, you know, and I really was worried about the highlights blowing out. So I was playing with contrast and all this stuff. And it's one of those, that's, like, I could see this hanging in a hotel somewhere, you know, like a modern-ish hotel, like have this puppy metal print or acrylic print, and go into a float frame and, you know, things like that. But this is one I really love because I let it just happen, and it was literally at my feet. Maybe it was supposed to happen, that I was supposed to not like this and look down, and that's why the glare was there, right? And that's what I saw. So again, I'm not holding myself back to anything. So this is one I'm kind of wrapping up here, but this was one too that I don't know if I like it still. I don't know. It's one that's been like, I don't. But I was playing with the lens. It's a stupid tree next to my mom's house, and I was just like, what this looks if I put it on the velvet lens, click. What do I get if I put it on the sweet, click. What if I do it on the swirl, click. Things like that. Just experimenting while I was literally waiting for the wife and kid to get in the truck to leave. And again, then I was like, you know what? I would like, I don't like it. And was like, just go edit it, see what happens. Again, I let it go. And I got something. I don't know if I love it, but it's not my favorite, but it's different. This one, playing with the post-process and color, as we're talking about color with a lot of these, is I've got cool and warm tones. Like, again, this was just a bunch of, I think these are like cone flowers. They're all dead, and that's what I got left over. But I'm not letting any of this hold me back, and I just play. I clicked 5 or 6 pictures of this, and I edit it in 3 or 4 different ways, and I've come back to this one 3 or 4 times over a couple of days. Man, you know, I like it. I don't know if I'd ever do anything with it, but it's, again, one of those. It's different. So as I wrap up here too, we can start taking, besides technique and post-processing, we can combine process with the lens, right? And that's what I've been doing, where some of these, like this one, probably more literal image than I've done, but this is the lens. I'm using color and post-processing, obviously, like we're doing, but I'm using them together. I found light. And this was in the Salvage, the old place in Des Moines. It's super cool. It's a salvage building. I took some iPhone photos there back in December, and then I took the camera this time. I specifically went to Des Moines and put this on my list. But again, I started combining more things in my brain to think, okay, what can I do to make this image? This is one of the first ones that I posted with the Sweet lens. This is like, this is the very first picture that I did with the Trio 28, one of the very first. Everyone loved it. I still like it. I hate this bridge. It's the most over-photographed bridge in this entire city of Cedar Rapids. But I photographed it on a day it was super foggy with the Trio 28. I edited it in a different way. It's a different image than I've seen before. Taking something we've all seen a million times and trying to create something different. So, but if you see, my journey has changed a lot, hasn't it, from the beginning till now? But that's what I love about it. I'm just kind of letting it go with the flow, as they say. Oh, Becky said, I really like the train bridge photo. Thank you. This was another one. The bridge. I went downtown, change of like Rick said, he liked the last one, change of scenery, right? Change of location. I went downtown Cedar Rapids. One thing I like about this journey too, as more creative, is I'm taking things in a sense out of the image more. I removed the frickin' street lights in Photoshop. Why not? Because to me, this journey is about creativity and making the image I want. I'm not a photojournalist, right? So I can take crap out. That's what I'm going to do. So I took a couple of light posts out. Who cares? You know, right? I just kind of got that look. That's what I wanted. I looked at it and I was like, why don't I like this? I don't like the street lamps. And I was like, throw it, ditch it. I'm like, nah, you can take them out. This is art, right? So Ben says yes. You know, but Jan says this one's very cool. Could see this one hanging in a hotel too, right? That's the thing. It's just like, it's just different. I'm thinking of this scene would suck on a not foggy day. And Becky says the fog and the lens baby seems to work very well together. Yes, it does. There's a lot of photos over the years that I've seen that just stick in my brain and this reminds me a lot of that way back when Hasselblad medium format, warm toned prints in the dark room. And that's when I went out and shot a lot of these. That's what I went with. That's that feeling I got. But again, you know, hey, This is art. We can do what we want with it at this point. Again, literally, Cedar Rapids, if you go right, so in that top, not top left, but where that little building sticking out on the left, that very faint building is the federal courthouse. This is a really crappy view on a normal day. You've got what used to be, and now it's Penford, or it used to be Penford, the cornstarch place in the background. To the right is where I show up a lot for work, the Lynn County Jail. You know, and you don't see it, but it's these trees and it's mist, kind of, it's just mystery-like, you know, and that I can't wait for more foggy days, man. That's what I love about my new job. I don't go until 2:00. So the mornings when we get fog, and I used to have to go to Raining Rose and work, I had to miss all that fun shit. Now I get to go out in it because fog isn't staying around, usually around here all day. So, you know, it's one of those things. And I think, oh, I already had this one. I don't know why I put it, but I'll skip that one over. I talked about it. This one, you know, this was one that this is one of the original photos that I hated because I didn't like where the focus was. I wanted the focus to be in the middle, but Jan says end of next week, fog is in the forecast. I can't wait. Thank you, Jan. But this is one too that this made me start thinking about how do I compose images when the sharpness is in the middle. This is not what I wanted composed, but I worked with what I had. And the sharpness is actually in the top right corner of this bridge. It's hard to see because it's foggy and crap. But if you see it on a monitor, it's there. But I think that's the last picture I've got. Okay, yeah. So hopefully everybody enjoyed. There's 16 of you stuck around. That's good. So I'm happy to be back. I think I just needed a break from lots of things. Upcoming events, I don't quite know what that means yet. Obviously, we're going to have more of these, right? Oh, Patty says, love your photos. You are welcome. More events, but of this. And Joe, I'm glad I am back as well, Jan. But Coffee and Clicks will come back. Was supposed to have it set for Saturday, but I forgot to book the room for scooters because I've kind of been on this la land of a journey and I really haven't like tried to plan anything, which is fine. That's what I need to do. A lot of this journey started too because I was worrying about other people and other things and not myself. So I need to loosen up a little bit on that this year. But when it comes to late night exposures, this will be here. So one ask that I have of everybody is if you could share this. I know all of you have photo friends. You can share the lives. All this is on YouTube afterwards. Feel free to share my YouTube page, Justin Tedford, Fine Art Photography. But I really want to grow this into, not that I don't enjoy all of you 15 or so that always show up, but I think as a group, really we are a group of people that hang out virtually and listen to me blab for an hour. We do come up with stuff. We comment and people make says, you know, I've done this or I've had this. And I've always loved educating, and that's why I do this. And that's why I do it for free, because if I did it for money, I wouldn't like it probably, right? But if you could all share and get other people on, or at least looking at things and commenting and all that kind of stuff, that would be awesome. At the top, you've always seen the support the show button. That is obviously a financial thing. I probably had some really kind of towards the end of last year, some kind of hard blog post or two that was a little rough, but it's how I felt. It is what it is. Not saying that people don't support things, but if you want to, what I'm trying to say is if you want to financially support this, this is fine, but do not feel necessary. I don't want people to feel like if I get on here, I'm doing this for money, but I got bills to pay in a sense for this, and it is what it is, but that's where I'm going to leave it. But the biggest thing I want is just to grow the show. You know, would it be cool if I had 1,000 people every Thursday? Awesome, right? But at the same time, even if I had 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, that'd be awesome. Just some more people, because I think we can grow and do things. If you're in Iowa, Coffee and Clicks will be the third Saturday of every month. I kind of get the same 4 or 5 people, not that I don't like that. I'd like to see it grow a little bit more too. In 2024, I'm going to take that to a point of, I think maybe we'll come up with a topic to discuss or something, or we'll always, you know, save maybe a half hour for rando questions, but then maybe talk about the creative journey or something. I don't know. We can always come up as a group with whatever. But it's just one of those things. So if you have, the other thing that this slide is reminding me of, again, the show is for you as much as it is for me to enjoy and share stuff. Go send me a Facebook message if you're a friend with me on Facebook or on my business page, and just whatever you want to do. Some ideas, maybe, I don't know. I do, again, like I said, I'm rambling at this point, but I want to do some things and topics for you guys. And I know I've asked before I get some ideas, but shoot me some stuff that you want to see and I'll try to come up with stuff for it. But, who knows what I'm going to do come up this year. I know this year is going to be more of a creative year and just kind of roll and go with the flow kind of thing. But who knows? I do have, I do have classes. I need to mention that. I had a class last Saturday. Nobody signed up, and that's nobody's fault but my own because I didn't tell you about it. So if you go to my website, I revamped it a couple months ago. I have some classes right now. They're all online. I think it's cheapest to go that way. They're still on sale because I'm too lazy to take them off sale. So go take it while you can get it. I think the 27th, I think it's on there, is I'm going to do an ICM class. So if you're interested in intentional camera movement, it's all online. You sign up, you pay for it. In an email, you'll get the Zoom link and it'll all be taught online like this. That thing will be fun. At the end of the year in September, I'm taking a big old risk here, but I probably need to. I'm going to do a photo workshop. I've already had one person ask me about it. It's going to be in Jefferson City, Missouri, of all places, right? It's about 4 hours from Cedar Rapids. I know I've talked about it here a little bit on the show a couple months ago, but we're going to go to the Missouri State Penitentiary. I'm hoping to go down maybe in March or sometime and pick a day or two off of work and go do some photos. So I need to figure out a couple things. I apologize. I meant to have it figured out by now, but I can't get stupid businesses to email me back. Right now, the cost in my head, the last time I checked with everything, would be about $700. It's very cheap for a workshop in a sense, but it's got the time that I want to make in there. But the big thing is it's got your hotel room in there. It's got everything. So all you'd have to do is sign up and show up, and you have a hotel room. We'd all be in the same hotel. I want it to be a camaraderie thing where we're not scattered all over town and we can all group. And it's going to be, the plan so far is we would show up the night before, go out to dinner, meet each other, talk about photography, have fun, get to know each other. The next day, we're going to do a photo shoot, obviously, at the penitentiary. That's got your fees. I only need 3 people. I only need 3 people to make this happen because they require, it's private. It's a photo thing for us only, is the way I understand it. There'll be nobody there. We'll have a tour guide, and I think it's set for 5 hours. So I got to remember it. I think it's 5 hours, but I'm included in the 4 that I need, and I have one person that's pretty interested in price, so I only need 2 more to do it. Like, explanation is the place is supposedly haunted. I'm just saying it because some people don't like the paranormal thing. But I think it's going to be super cool. And then the other thing I want to do is once we come back from our shoot that day, I think lunch will be on your own. You go as a group if we want to. But then we're going to come back, and I'm going to haul this stupid Canon printer 4 hours with me. And I'm going to get paper and ink, and we're going to do an editing session. And you can bring your laptops, and you're going to say, Justin, I want this image to look like this. And I can throw it up on the screen, and maybe we can edit it as a group, or I can go around and it's just a total hands-free workshop where I can show you some things to edit maybe as a group. Then you're going to come and do your own thing. You're like, Justin, I want this part to be brighter. How do I do it? I'm going to show you on your own laptop. You're going to learn those skills, do that thing. And then you're going to leave with actual tangible freaking prints. Like, we're going to print a couple photos off from the printer. I'm going to kind of show you how I set up my down and dirty printing out of my printer. So it's a lot of learning for $700. So hopefully everybody can do it. I'm kind of excited about it. Maybe, but it's on my website as well. Just, I don't have all those details, but I need to probably get that wrapped up here by the end of February. But right now, tentatively $700. I don't want it to go above that. I really don't. But I'm trying to get discounted hotels. That's the kicker, because I like nicer hotels. We ain't staying at the Roach Motel. There's a Hilton I like. It's new. It's nice. It's got a bar there. It's got food there if somebody really wanted. But just think of this workshop as a total camaraderie thing, learning, printing, like the whole 9 yards. At first I thought, well, let's just go shoot and be done. But what does that get anybody? Let's do the whole creative process from envisioning our photo all the way to making a print and headed out the door home. So it's about a full, it's like a day and a half workshop, we'll put it that way. So I'm done talking about that. That's my big thing. The classes I should mention, let's say Jan signs up, and guess what? Jan's the only one that signs up. Guess what, Jan? I'm still going to do the class with you online, because just because you were super excited about learning ICM and nobody else was, or it didn't work for their schedule, I shouldn't punish that one person for wanting to learn. I'm that weird black sheep where everybody says, got to have a minimum of 4 or 5. No, I don't want to do that shit. So lots of that kind of fun stuff. I think once the weather gets nicer, we'll kind of maybe take coffee and clicks on the road, and we'll do some photo walks, things like that. So that's what I want to do there. But I think that's all I got that was a lot of stuff, man. I've gotten like an hour and a half. I apologize, but we'll say it's because we haven't gotten together in a while, right? And I got one more slide, and yes, and it's as always. So again, I thank you guys for coming and showing up. I think for probably the longest time we had about 16 to 8, on average about 18 people the whole time. So I apologize for going to an hour and a half, but it's been awesome. Thank you. Fun stuff. Love the ideas for being more creative. You have a good night as well. But again, we'll be back next Thursday. Unfortunately, I don't know what that's going to be about. I need to get ahead of planning this stuff. You are welcome, Corey. I should mention real quick. So Coffee and Clicks, we won't do it this month. We'll do it next month because I want to be more organized. And Connie, maybe a little birdie told me that you were interested in the Missouri photo trip. So I'm just hint, hint, wink, wink, right? You are welcome, Jan. But again, big things, takeaway, classes, workshop. Please share the shit out of this. I don't care in any way. Let your friends know. Scream it from the roof of your house. Put a sign in your front yard. I don't care. But, just any way you feel support, that would be awesome this year. So again, I'm done rambling. You guys have a wonderful time. You always know you can find me on Facebook or at the grocery store or a text or an email. I'm always willing to help out and answer your photos. Again, I still do the whole class thing, the private work, or the private, many Christmases, one-on-one instruction. I can do it via Zoom as well now. So, but again, I got plenty of ways to help you out. So give me a call, a John, an email, whatever. So again, we are done. I enjoyed it. I'm excited to be back. I was excited to see everybody. I was a little worried that no one would show up because you all forgot that we did this, but you all came through as always. And someday I'll try to figure out, I have ideas on how to do something fun for everybody who shows up. So again, I'm done rambling. Have a good evening, and we will all see you next week. Hopefully I'll figure something out, or I'll do one